Okay guys, so today I am starting with eyes first. So I'm going to go with my shadow base. I'm using Select Coverup in NW15. This is my all-time favorite shadow base, and I've used a bunch of different types of shadow bases, different brands, whatever. And you'll see them. I will use them in different tutorials, but this one is my favorite. My all-time favorite. It's amazing. It has a nice matte finish. It's nice and thick. So if you have hot dog veiny eyelids like I do, you can hide them with your Select Coverup. It's also like an instant miniature brow wax. It covers them really smoothly. I don't use a base on top of it. Like I don't use like a setting powder on top of it. It holds product beautifully and it just creates a really pretty blend. Makes them pop. Make sure you use the thick layer too. You don't want it to be patchy. You want it to be even all the way across. So use those patting motions. Don't swipe it. You'll thank me later. For brows, I am using a Fluidline brow gel in Dirty Blonde. Now, I'm not particularly I don't use this product all the time. It depends on what kind of brow look I'm going for. I'll switch between pencils, powder, gel. I'm going for a defined brow today, so I'm going to use that gel. Also, I'm using a 263. If you want a defined brow, you have to use a 263 brush. The 266 does not do it justice. It's a little bit more of a fuzzier brush. This one is stiff, it's thin. It does exactly what I want for that defined brow. So if you don't have it, it's Mac store only. Get it at your local Mac store or online. Follow your brow hairs. This is key. Nobody likes a tattooed on brow. Nobody. Follow them brow hairs. So for eyeshadow, I am starting with a blush in Peaches. I do love to use blushes as eyeshadows. It's great for your kit, so it doubles, and also majority of them are matte. They give you more of a variety. I'm using two different 224s here. One of them is to deposit the product like so, and then the other one is a clean 224 that I'll use throughout the makeup just to buff out the edges and give it a really blended effect. Blending out those edges. I layer on product, so little bit blend, gives you the best effect. So my next eyeshadow is another blush. I'm using Fever blush with a 217 brush. That's a tongue twister. Fever is a nice maroon pink blush. I'm using a 217 to apply this eyeshadow. The reason why I switched from a 224 to a 217, it's a denser brush, so it'll give you more of an intense color payoff. I want to see the different layers, so I'll use different brushes for different effects. And then I'll blend out the edge with that clean 224. There it is! My next blush slash eyeshadow is Sketch. With a 221, again, it's more of like a funnel, tinier brush, so it's even denser than the 217. Different layer, different brush. I'm using Sketch blush versus eyeshadow, if you're familiar. It's more matte. It's not shiny like the eyeshadow is, and I really want to concentrate the shimmer on the eyelid and not in the crease. So I want to keep it really matte through that crease itself. You get that same color payoff because Sketch is a beautiful color. It's just matte. It's also, as a matter of fact, a really pretty contour on dark skin tones. Blending out that edge with that 217. So Carbon is the black eyeshadow I used. It's Max Black Plain Eyeshadow. I used the Anastasia double-ended brush to pack it on and then blend it out. That Anastasia brush in the palettes find it in your kit, wherever you get ready. It's amazing for packing on shadow. I'm obsessed for it for that very reason. So go in, find your palette, find the brush, and use that shit. So we're gonna start carving out that crease. I'm using Select Coverup again with the 252 brush. I like the 252 brush because it's gonna give you that shape you want without having to work too hard, which is nice. The key is to really use small sections when cutting it out. Don't try to do it in one swoop. It'll kind of pull at the eyelid and get skippy, which we do not want. We want that clean cut effect. So just pat it on. The brush will do the work for you. And blend out that outer edge like I'm doing right now. If not, when you put shadow on it, it'll kind of get patchy and stick to that one area. So for the inner corner, I'm using Oh So Guilty. It's a Dazzle shadow. It's one of MAC's newer shadows. It's a pretty kind of golden glitter. Just pack it on. The next shadow, because we kind of want an ombre effect, is Stars and Rockets. It's a pretty iridescent purple, and I'm using a smaller brush to pack it on, a 239 brush. And then blending out that edge with the carbon. More carbon. So I do use a lot of MAC product. I do work for MAC. I've worked for MAC for 9 years now. It's gone by so fast. So majority of products I do use are MAC products. I do love their products. They're super pigmented, they stay, and they blend beautifully. If I do use other products like that Anastasia brush, I do make sure to note it in the description box underneath as well as during the tutorial itself. So, no fear, I will let you know. What I love about those Dazzle shadows is you can use them wet or dry, which is awesome. So if you use them wet, they're like super pigmented. Or if you use them dry, they're a little bit more glittery, not quite as metallic. So I am using it dry. The next step we're going to do is our eyeliner. I am using Blacktrack Fluidline by MAC. It's a gel eyeliner. It comes in a little pot. And I'm using that handy dandy 263 brush, as I mentioned, with the brows. It's stiffer, it's not quite as fuzzy as like a 266, and you really want that clean line from your eyeliner. So I'm making sure to use that stiff brush. If you're not comfortable with pulling it, you can always stamp it on. You'll get the same effect. And I'm going thicker on the outer corner and thinner on the inner corner. So I'm using in the waterline the Modern Twist eyeliner in Cat's Meow. It's the blackest black. What I like about this eyeliner is it stays on freakishly well. It's a gel eyeliner. Because it's a gel, you do want to work relatively quick with it, like I'm doing right now. I'm using the same shadows we used in the crease underneath just to buff it out. I'm doing it all on the same eye before I go in with the next eye, just to make sure I blend it. Because if I put the liner down, and if I switch to the other eye, and I came back to that eye to buff it out, it wouldn't move. It stays on so well. So you do want to work quick with it. So I go in with the liner itself, I buff it out, and then I'm going in with the same shadows I used on top. So a little bit of Fever, a little bit of Sketch, a little bit of Peaches. Hitting the lashes with mascara. I'm using 3D Black Lash Mascara from MAC. You can use whatever mascara you have. This is the one I have on handy, so. I'm going in with lashes. I love stacked lashes, so I will wear 2 pairs, 3 pairs, 5 pairs to kind of customize how I want them to look. I put the glue on, wait 45 seconds to a minute before even attempting to put them on. If not, it's too wet and the glue will get everywhere and you'll get frustrated and give up. So I'm now moving in with the skin. I am using Pro Longwear Foundation in NC30. I self-tan a lot, but I won't self-tan my face, so it's gonna look crazy here, me putting it on, but once it dries down with a little more warmth to it, so it will match my neck. I'm a natural glow worm, so I'm super pale, so I need to add it in so I match. I am using a 168 brush to apply the foundation and then a 217 to buff out the edges to make sure I don't feather out like the brows or underneath the eye or the eyeshadow on the nose there. I do like the 168 brush. It's technically a blush brush, but I do love it for foundation. It acts like your fingers without using your fingers, so that's always a plus because you don't want that excess oil on there. I'm now gonna get my highlighter going on. I'm using a NARS concealer in light with that same 217 and just buffing it up into the eyeshadow while depositing the color a little bit lower. I'm then buffing it out with that 168 brush in a patting motion to make sure I get a fade and there's no line between the concealer and the foundation. I want a good blend happening. I'm then just gonna go in with a little bit of my peaches just to buff out the edges, make sure there's no lines. And now that I've placed my concealer, I wanna make sure I set that pretty quick. I'm using Select Sheer in NC5. It's obviously the lightest shade. It's super light, but it's pretty sheer. So when you put it down, it just goes on the skin like butter and holds the concealer in place. And then all over my face, I use Studio Waterweight powder. What I love about this powder is it has cool and warm all in one compact. And I'm gonna go on my contour. I am using Mineral Skin Finish in Dark Tan. It's not too warm because things have a tendency to go orange on me really quick. So I want to make sure I use something with more of a yellowy base. So Dark Tan is nice and it's not super matte. It's more of a natural finish. It's my favorite bronzer. This highlight, you guys, it's a highlighting palette from MAC. It just came out not too long ago. And if you want to glow to the gods and just look like a glazed donut, this is the one to use. I'm using the lightest shade out of the palette, right on that orbital bone and right down the center. Also on the inner corners, same shadow, just using that dense 239 brush. I'm then just taking a lash primer that I love for the brows, just quickly through the brows itself to get rid of any powder. For the lip, I am using Whirl Lip Liner and Fleshpot Lipstick. It's a really pretty nude. I want the focus on the eyes, so I am going nude on the lip. Starting from the center and then going to the outer, meeting it in that center. I hope you guys enjoyed this YouTube tutorial. It's my first tutorial, so I am so glad you guys came and watched. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything you guys want to see or want to hear, please let me know in the comment box below. I appreciate all your support. And stay tuned for more tutorials in the future. Bye, guys.